Okay, so we're working on this 2008 Mazda Tribute, and we got the rear window here on the driver's side that is fell down, and I'm going to be showing you how we're going to fix this. Okay, you'll notice the window right now is actually being held up, and that's because I went in and propped a stick under it temporarily. I was also using this, but it fell off. But when this falls down, it's because you got a cable in there on the regulator that breaks or whatever, it comes apart. It has to be replaced. And if you can pull it up sometimes, but it won't stay, and then sometimes the cable gets jammed or whatever and you can't even get it to pull all the way up and it gets all messed up. So basically you got to go in and replace this. I'm going to go ahead and show you the part here. Okay, here's what this whole unit looks like. And these run about $60. Now I actually got a really good deal on this one. It was a used but like new, I'm assuming like an open box or some sort of deal. But let's go ahead and take it out here. You would never want to just replace one or the other, whether it be the regulator or just the motor, because it's got a lot of usage and you want to replace the whole thing. That way you don't have to worry about it. This is a Dorman. Now these Dorman are really good. I don't know about some of the others, but I know that the Dorman work well. There's that part number. So anyways, I'll leave a link to where I got this. I got a really good deal. It was used, open box, whatever. It was only $15, tax and all. So can't beat that versus $60. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what tools we got here. Okay, so I believe this is everything. We've got just a Phillips screwdriver. This is a little pick tool. You can get these anywhere. Note the hook. And I got a 10mm. We got a Torx with a T30 or Torx 30 with a little bit of an extension. Some sort of knife, scissors or something, and you'll probably want something like this just so you're not scratching anything up. You can get these little trim kits. They're really cheap, but definitely handy to have. So that's pretty much everything. We'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so first thing up, we're going to get started with our Phillips screwdriver. We're going to get started with these 3 screws on this side of the panel. Alright, so we got this one right up here. Okay, so we'll come on down to the next one. Okay, now we're on the bottom. Okay, now we're going to be going down in this handle, getting this Phillips screw. You may have to get a magnet if you can't grab a hold of it. Okay, next up we're going to work on this handle. We're going to use our pick tool with a hook. We just come back in here behind, give that a pull, and it should pop right out of there. See, that just snaps right into those slots. Okay, now we got our T30. We're going to go in and get this Now, I will tell you ahead of time, I have had this apart. There are clips that clip this particular part in. Now, this is where your plastic trim tool is going to come into play. Now, I have not taken one of these off and not broke the little clips that are clipping this panel, and I'll show you in a second, but it makes no difference if you break them, because as you can see, this bolt is what holds this piece in. So it may not even be possible to get this out without breaking those little fragile clips. So here we have that little bolt. It's at teeth 30. And this is what I want to show you. At this point, you'll either want to try to get under this side with your little trim tool or under here. Now, so I've already popped this one loose, so it's not going to be a problem. So once we have this loose, once we get the panel, we'll simply feed this through. But when I get this completely off, I'll show you these little places the clips are in. And at this point, I'm just going to get my little tool. We're going to get under part of it, and we're just going to start popping. And once you get one part loose, you can usually just pull the rest by hand there. You can see we've got this side here completely loose. And now we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to pull this over here. And then we'll just give this a little lift up. Now at this point, all we got to do is kind of feed this through. And so we'll work, as we're working this off of here, I think I've had one more little snap over there. We're just gonna feed that back through, just like so. Now we got a wire connector here. Okay, so there's our one wire connector that we need to disconnect. Okay, so we're just going to give that a push down. Okay, so we have this whole piece loose. You can see the green snaps. See the locating peg. So sometimes those break. Now back to this piece, there is like some sort of plastic clips that initially hold that to that panel, and the trick is getting it out without breaking those, because it like slides in back here, so you kind of need to pop them out. But I've broke them every time, so if somebody knows the trick, maybe they can share it, but it makes a little difference because the bolt is going to hold this piece and it doesn't even matter. They're basically not necessary. Okay, so this is the point where you'll need to, so we'll go ahead and get this piece off. And here we're using our T30 or Torx as well, same one that we used on the handle. This basically supports the panel there. You note the clips on either side that sit into the holes there to locate it. And also hold it still. I said this bolt is exactly the same as the other bolt. And you notice the clip, the threaded clip. Okay, so here you're going to want to cut this right here with a knife so you can get around this lock. We're going to start peeling it down where we can get in here to do something. And this stuff is really sticky. It's not fun to get on your hand. So we'll just feed that down. And we just want to basically get it where it's going to be easy to get to everything. And we do have, we've got one here and here. And I believe that I think we're going to start over here with these bolts first. Okay, so the connector here, just give that a push down. And sometimes you have to push it forward to get it to unlock good, and then sometimes they stick, in which case we get our pick tool and we go in here and we lift it up. So there we go. So we've got it disconnected. Now we're going to take our 10. Go ahead and start taking these loose. You don't have to take these bolts completely out just yet. If you don't want to, you're going to have to transfer them over, but you notice that they will slide through these holes. So they just basically, at this point, have to be loose, and then we can transfer them over. This one, however, that's different, as you can see, has to come completely out. And you can see that motor moving already. So there's that little bolt. Okay, so this is loose. We can basically get the motor and just push it on loose there. Just to show you, this is what you probably are going to see: a broken wire, or it may be in a bind, or it may have just, the motor may have quit. You just never know. Most of the time when they fall down, that wire is broken. Okay, so again, we got our 10. You'll note we got a nut right here. We got one right here. Those are on the stud of the regulator itself. So we'll just go ahead and start with this bottom one down here. Okay, now we're going to get on this upper. Okay, so now you'll note we'll just push these. They may be stuck a little bit, but we're just going to push those. Now, I do have a stick that I need to get out. And actually, I've got a little bit ahead of myself here, so I need to pop that back in. What we need to do is get See the windows coming down now is because I got this stick. We need to get this down here where we can get these out before I completely push that out of there. And I should have done this before I took the regulator itself loose. But you notice there's holes over here. Of course, this side's easy to get to, and you're going to need a little bit of an extension. But over here, you have to get it lined up with, I believe it's this one. Let's push it on down a little bit. So there. So I'll go ahead and show you that. Okay, so with this down here, we can go in here and get this 10 millimeter. Now you may need a magnet to keep from dropping these. We're going to come in here and take this completely out. And then we're going to come on this side and do the same thing, and then we can push. You can see part of that cable there. It's broken loose. Okay, so you can see that that's loose now. Now what we're going to do is push this window up. We're going to get it wedged up here. Okay, so we're going to carefully push this all the way up and out of our way, and then we'll get our, just make sure you got something to safely hold it so it's not falling. Okay, now we'll be easily able to push this back, and we'll just bring this right out through here, and this is what we got. And said these do fail, and then they just drop down. So we'll transfer these bolts over. This thing is going to have a lot of sticky grease on it. This was my temporary window holder there. So we'll go ahead and get our other one here. Here they are setting side by side. So here's our old one. So we're going to just put it back in, motor in first. Now you want to take a note of the connector, make sure that the connector looks the same. If that is not the same, then you're going to have a problem. No need in proceeding. We're going to take these 10 millimeters that were on here. That makes it a little easier putting the motor in, and we're going to put them in the same spot that they're in over here on this one. So if you kind of put them side by side, very unlikely you'll get them mixed up. So just to screw it down enough to where it's got a good amount of threads holding it, and basically just going to help us to set it in there without worrying about it falling until we can get the other little bolt in place. Right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start working this in. Like I said, we're just going to work it in that way, the motor first, and get it in place. So this faces out with our studs. Got those. And we'll see how everything's going to line up here. And this should have some sticky silicone grease on it. So we're just going to kind of feed it in here, work that motor in. It should go in fairly easy. This is a really big space in terms of putting these motors in. Okay, so we're going to work it over here first. Okay, so we're just going to slide that right there first. I'm just going to snug these up a little bit more. Okay, and notice with those slid over in place, it lines up. I want to put a little bit of medium Loctite. Well, didn't need that much, but it kind of Came out of there pretty quick. I just don't like things that are kind of loose to vibrate out. So we've got these in place. We'll just go ahead and snug these up. It doesn't have to be terribly tight. You just don't want to strip anything. Okay, now we're going to get this. Now this is quite a bit longer, not just a little bit, so I don't really want that to be running around inside there, so I'm probably going to kind of let it maybe set out here, because I just worry that it would get caught or something. And I might even put a zip tie on it like so. So I think we'll do that, because it's just a lot. It was just connected right to the motor, but I don't want all that balled up in there and potentially catching. Okay, next thing up is just getting the regulator in place, and it should go right into place there. And we just got our little, these I believe are self-locking, at least they feel like they are, so I'm not going to worry about any Loctite on these. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and tighten these up. And we're going to go ahead next and get our window in place. We're going to test this out in just a moment. Alright, so that's plenty tight. Okay, so we're just going to take this loose and start carefully lowering our window. Okay, so this is just going to set, those clips are going to hit right on top of that, and of course the screw will go into those on both sides, so it's just a matter of getting that right there into alignment, making sure that the clip is set. Alright, so we're just going to get these screws back in here, and I'm just going to be hand tightening this. Okay, so we got both of those snugged up. At this point we're going to go ahead and get our panel over here. We're going to try this out. Okay, I've just temporarily stuck that back. I'm going to connect this connector here we took loose, and we'll go ahead and get the key on and test this out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make sure it works. Now there may be some adjustment. We'll have to roll it up and down a few times. Well, it appears that it's working just fine and nice and smooth. I don't see any problem with the window being out of adjustment. If it was, you would just loosen the screws to the window and just roll it up and get it lined up and readjust it. But it appears to be working fine, so I think we're going to go ahead and put it back together. Okay, so basically the first thing, we're just going to make sure that we get this stuck back kind of where it was. And this stuff is really sticky, so I don't see it being a problem. And of course, it's hot weather, it's a little bit more easy to work with as well. Okay, so next thing up is our little panel support here. Go ahead and start tightening that in. And just making sure that those are in their little spot there. So this vehicle has around 140,000 miles, I think it was. So, but I've seen others that had over 200,000 before these broke. People don't usually use them a lot, but they just will snap and you hear a popping noise, and next thing you know, your window is hanging down. All right. Okay, so I'm just getting ready to get the connector for the panel again. And we're going to feed this handle back through. Okay, now I just got to get this going through here. We're going to guide that into place. Okay, now we need to get this up above this. Got that down a little bit too far. So once you get it up above that lip, the rest of it pretty well just falls into place. You can see, just give it a push, and then it will pretty well just go right into place. See, they're all lined up. Okay, now this will just go right back in place. Just feed that in there, get it started. Unless that clip moved on you, it should go in place pretty easy. And like I said, this, you just push that where it needs to be. This bolt will hold this solid. It is not going anywhere. So we're just going to snug this all the way down here. Okay, this piece is very easy. Just push that right in there. Okay, we'll get our Phillips screw back in here. We'll get this screw up here at the top. And one more. Okay, we'll go ahead and try this again just to make sure that it is working fine. Nothing worse than getting something all together and having a problem. But it's working really smoothly, doing its job. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. I've spent less than an hour out here all together. So it's a really simple job. Said I'm going to leave a link to the window regulator. Why they still have some, you may be able to get, because it was labeled on Amazon as used like new. I'm thinking it's like an open box or something. I don't know. It looked new to me, and it works just fine. So $15 versus $60, really good deal. That was $15 with tax and everything. It was only $13 and something. So I'll leave a link to that. So why they still have supplies. So it's a very cheap fix, and get this fixed in probably under an hour. So anyways, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so. Always, I invite you to subscribe, and I thank you for watching.